from Renaissance-style chateaux, grand country estates, architectural glass masterpieces.
These are the remarkable homes
Simply breathtaking.
and magnificent landmarks
One day, my son, all this will be yours.
at the very heart of Britain's spectacular history.
I have never seen one like this.
Join me
I need to get there. With all speed. Onwards, driver.
and a host of celebrities
Oh, crikey.
with a passion for the past
Kaboom! Wish me luck.
as we travel the length and breadth of the nation
It is between the walls.
and with unparalleled behind-the-scenes access.
From the highest heights
Now I'm through my blind panic.
to the deepest depths.
We'll uncover the secrets
my goodness.
still hidden within these breathtaking buildings.
These are the places that nobody else gets to see.
And explore the riches
How spectacular.
and treasures of one of our most loved institutions.
This is an amazing story. Come on, I want to know the end. I want to know the end.
Welcome to the secrets of the National Trust. Standing proud in North Somerset is one of the finest Victorian homes in all the land, the Gothic masterpiece that is Tyntesfield. Remodelled in the mid-1800s by a man who would become the richest commoner in England,
It's a story of enormous wealth, fervent faith, and dried bird droppings.
set in 540 acres of glorious English countryside, it was the vision of businessman William Gibbs, the son of a merchant who hit the jackpot selling bird poo as fertiliser. He poured his unimaginable wealth into a mansion that banished Victorian gloom forever, filling it with light and a magnificent collection that's still intact from its 19th century heyday.
But at the heart of Tyntesfield is William's profound spirituality, which guided how he and future generations used the place, giving it a special character, but also making it a loving family home.
And that home has one godly addition few others would attempt, a towering private chapel declaring not only the family's ardent faith, but also their immense spending power.
Gosh,
By investigating mysterious cupboards,
this is the secret
It's a
door.
secret door.
unlocking family tombs,
Proper crypt key.
and taking a step back in time,
Oh, I like this.
I'll discover this great house and the tycoon who came to call it home.
If I open it very gently,
Well, I never.
Also tonight,
Oh, wow. So this is it.
presenter Miriam O'Reilly hopes to find paradise in Tintsfield's Arboretum.
We think it's well over 160 years old.
Chef Tony Singh picks a dessert fit for a queen.
Cherries it's going to be.
In the walled garden.
I think you need a bigger net because you're going to need to protect them from me.
And actor Lewis Emmerich
My dad used to have one of these.
has to give a 1920s house a little bit of elbow grease.
so if you'd like to do the rest of the floor.
See you in about a week then.
Back in the 1850s, there was a well-known rhyming ditty, and it went like this. William Gibbs made his dibs selling the turds of foreign birds. It's not very polite, is it? But it did enable William to build all this.
I've always been told that bird muck brings good luck, but never really believed it before.
Welcome to Tyntesfield.
I'm meeting the Trust's Rachel Kavanagh, who can tell me more about the house, the family, and their bird-dropping past.
When you come in, Rachel, it's a bit like entering either an Oxford college or a sort of church, really. It was terribly fashionable at the time, this Gothic architecture, wasn't it?
It was, yeah. You can see lots of beautiful carvings in all of the furniture and fixtures and fittings, and carvings in the stonework and the metalwork as well.
Gothic architecture originated in the medieval period, when new building techniques such as flying buttresses and pointed supporting arches allowed increasingly larger structures, especially churches. The style was then revived in the Victorian period.
How can you make this much money out of selling bird poo?
Simply by having the monopoly on importing the bird poo back to the UK from Peru and South America.
Guano, or bird droppings, was the mid-Victorians' fertiliser of choice, and by securing the only licence to import it to this country, William Gibbs' profits bloomed as much as Britain's gardens, averaging between £80,000 and £100,000 a year, an astonishing fortune for the time.
They just chanced upon it, I think, and then...
It's a funny thing to chance upon, isn't it, really? There's an awful lot of bird poo out there. Let's shovel it up, put it in a boat, bring it back, flog it as fertiliser. We couldn't make a fortune. And they did. But they were the richest non-noble family. Nobody was better off than they were who hadn't got a title. That's an astonishing claim.
But they didn't become wealthy until quite later in their lives, until about the 1850s. Before that, they were just your average merchants. William's father was actually in quite a lot of debt.
Before hitting the bird dropping big time, William's father Anthony had made a mess of the family business and become insolvent. But armed with the family motto, tenacious of purpose, William, his father and brother ambitiously rebuilt the company.
These were very much common people. They just happened to make a lot of money.
I think growing up as a child in here, it must have been like being brought up in a cathedral.
Yeah.
Mustn't it? You know, it's not cosy, is it?
But I bet it has lots of good hiding spots for hide and seek.
I bet.
With business booming, William went on a spending spree, remodelling the house and hiring master craftsmen in stone to embellish its magnificent Gothic exterior. Inside, it's just as impressive, with grand staircases, tall ceilings and intricate wood carving throughout. But to really show off his wealth, a proper Victorian gentleman needed a proper gentleman's library. So William splashed out. And there's over 2,000 books on these shelves, ranging from politics to literature.
It's like all the rooms in this house. It's incredibly lofty.
It is,
and there's
yeah.
wood absolutely everywhere, isn't there? So would this have been used strictly as a library cum study for William?
No, we think that it was very much a family space for each generation of the Gibbs family. And you can see lots of evidence of games and toys about the room as well.
Yeah.
Industrious William didn't marry his 21-year-old wife Blanche till he was 49. But despite a late start, 7 children were soon running round this vast home.
Have all the books been catalogued? Have you been through them all?
We have. We still have a team of volunteers who are going through them, cataloguing them, cleaning them and looking after them. And they've found some very interesting things inside them as well.
Like what?
Well, there's something on the table that I can show you.
Well, that's just hymns, ancient and modern.
But there's something within its pages, if I open it very gently. This was found by some of our volunteers a couple of years ago within the pages of the book. This is an olive branch from the Garden of Gethsemane, which was brought back by William's nephew, the Reverend John Lomax Gibbs, who also brought back some seeds for a cedar of Lebanon.
The Garden of Gethsemane is believed to have lain on the Mount of Olives in the holy city of Jerusalem.
So he brought back a lovely little snippet for his hymn book and seeds of cedar and Lebanon that he could sow and plant out in the garden. They're still there.
They're still there, and they're in the part of the garden that the family called the Paradise Garden.
Well, I never. You see, it's probably still got a few secrets to tell yet, hasn't it?
But what exactly happened to those seeds from a century ago? Presenter and garden enthusiast Miriam O'Reilly is on their trail in Tyntesfield's Arboretum.
During the 19th century, it was fashionable for wealthy landowners to create an arboretum. It was a classy hobby for wealthy Victorians. But the arboretum here is much more than just a statement of wealth. It carries a significant spirituality.
So much so, the Gibbs named their arboretum Paradise. To find out more, I'm meeting garden manager Lisa Topham.
What is Paradise?
Paradise was something that I think is very significant to the family. It's a tree collection that we think has a deep spiritual meaning for them. It's really close to the house, so I think it's somewhere where they went for a peaceful walk, to escape, to think, to contemplate.
So how do you read the landscape in a spiritual way?
If you look at the way the garden was designed, there are 3 main avenues, and all of those avenues, in a sense, lead you to paradise. Those 3 avenues are lined with things like holly and yew and laurel.
Being evergreen, holly, laurel and ivy have signified eternity and everlasting life since pagan times. But what about those all-important cedar seeds from the Lebanon? Lisa and her team have recently unearthed over 800 original plant labels commissioned by the Gibbs family, including this one, mentioning them directly.
Within Paradise was an area called Lebanon, and there's a collection of cedars there. And we believe that they were all grown from seed collected by John Lomax Gibbs.
So he actually went to the Lebanon to get the seeds?
He did, and we think it was part of almost a pilgrimage because he went to the Holy Land and he brought seeds back. And we have photographs that were maybe part of the tourist trail that he picked up at the time.
So the Gibbs family would have known what they were going to look like, fully grown?
Exactly. Imagine that vision, to just come back with seeds and to envisage this place that is going to be paradise for them.
And from those tiny seeds grew this magnificent towering tree.
Oh, wow. So this is it. This is the cedar.
Stunning, isn't it?
Your impulse is to look right up.
Exactly, and there's a lot of symbolism with cedars. Connection with the Victorian Gothic as well is it's about drawing your eye to heaven. And in a tree like this, you naturally do that. You're naturally looking up and following the tree line to the top.
When was this cedar planted?
We know it was 1858, so we think it's well over 160 years old. And we also think it was part of a group planting in here, but that the other trees have died, which is why we're now starting to replant from trees that we've propagated from this original tree.
Oh, tremendous.
The Arboretum might be called paradise, but it still needs a little bit of help to stop it going wild. Further in the woodland, the Trust's Victoria Stanfield and her team are doing just that.
What's the team doing today?
So today the team are doing what we call halo releasing. They're removing trees from around this oak tree to stop them from creating shade to the oak tree.
How old is this oak?
We can estimate this tree is around 450 years old.
Wow.
Yeah.
So it's really worth looking after.
Yeah.
But what about wildlife if you're cutting away so many plants here? Aren't you going to impact the wildlife that exists here already?
This tree is amazing habitat for hundreds of species.
Like what?
Lichen, mosses, various insects. We found earlier that there's evidence that rabbits are actually living under the tree. There's a burrow under this tree. So that's the priority, is keeping this tree alive.
And so the whole habitat can thrive?
Yes. Yeah.
Perhaps for another 450 years.
Yeah, hopefully, that's our aim.
The team here are really getting stuck in. I'm not sure I'm up to wielding a chainsaw today, but Victoria's promised to show me the delicate art of ivy pruning.
Put it on properly?
So we're just going to cut a gap in it and then let it die back slowly and fall off.
OK. Underneath is really thick.
Yes, it's the stems that are the important thing. It's a job I quite enjoy.
It is.
You can see the difference quite quickly, really.
You can.
Cutting back like this only happens every 2 or 3 years. Doing it more often would expose the tree to too much cold and light and send it into a state of shock.
Isn't that lovely, though? Because you really feel that you become in harmony with the tree itself by getting so close to it.
Yeah.
You can almost feel this tree breathing a sigh of relief as we're cutting the ivy off.
Yes.
On the surface, the Arboretum is an historical window into the trends of wealthy Victorians. But look a little deeper, and there's far more to this place than that.
It may have been inspired by religious fervour, but you don't have to search among the Arboretum's trees for proof of William's devotion to the church. Like many wealthy men of his day, he spent a good chunk of his cash on displaying his faith for all to see. And for him, that meant building his very own jaw-dropping chapel. Designed by Arthur Blomfield, himself the son of the Bishop of London, Tyntesfield Chapel was inspired by Sainte-Chapelle in Paris, and it's survived virtually unchanged since it was completed in 1875.
Rachel, I've been in a few private chapels in my life. I have never seen one like this. It even has a rose window at one end. How important was their faith to them? Obviously very important.
Very important. I think their faith very much defined who they were as people and what they did in their lives as well. William had this built at the latter stages of his life because religion and faith meant so much to them.
So they used this on a regular basis?
They did, absolutely, most days. And it would have been adorned with beautiful embroideries and textiles and vestments and things like that, and it would have been full of music and hymns because the family were very much part of that as well.
They seemed very keen on not just erecting this chapel, but in helping other churches as well.
They were very philanthropic in their faith.
There was a great appetite for regenerating churches in the Victorian era. Between 1851 and 1875, almost 2,500 were built or restored. And for William and his family, this was the perfect opportunity to pursue their faith while also flexing their financial muscles. On top of this chapel, they paid for the building or restoration of at least 19 others, including Oxford's famous Keble College Chapel.
So although they made a lot of money, they were determined to use it well?
Absolutely. They were part of the Tractarian movement, or the Oxford movement, as it's sometimes called, which was very high Church of England.
The Oxford movement wanted to reform the Church of England by reviving some of the ancient rituals of the early Christian church.
Very close to Catholicism, which is why you see such detail and such garnish in the design of the chapel.
But it is glorious. And you look up and you see the light. The stained glass is superb.
It's beautiful, and it's got lots of unusual features in it, so having the religious figures as well as classical figures in the stained glass is quite unusual.
Before the Victorian era, many of England's churches were in a poor state of repair. The country had seen a huge population explosion due to the Industrial Revolution, and the Church of England and the influential Oxford movement saw an opportunity to increase their congregations. And making church interiors less austere may well have helped their cause. As well as the bright and ornate stained glass windows, the floor was equally colourful, with mosaic inlays and marble tiles set with honey-coloured onyx and rare Derbyshire blue john. It's just as well William Gibbs was one of the super-rich. Building chapels like Tyntesfield didn't come cheap.
And down the side here of the nave, we've got memorials. Now, is there one of these crosses for each member of the family?
Yeah, that's correct. And that one here, that beautiful gold one, is William's.
It's rather appropriate that his should be the most elaborate and imposing of them all, isn't it?
I think so.
William Gibbs died in 1875, the same year his beloved chapel was completed. But sadly, his burial didn't go quite according to plan.
So where are you taking me now?
Taking you to the crypt, which is what William wanted to be his last resting place.
Oh, my goodness. Oh, a big door. It's imposing.
Do you want to open it?
Oh, with a... I love that. Proper crypt key. Ooh, right.
Never seen by the public,
Gosh.
it's sadly the crypt that never was.
I can't believe many people come in here. When was the last time anybody was in?
We don't know exactly, but we know it was built by William as a crypt for the chapel because he did want to be buried in here along with other members of his family.
So why is he not? There's no sign of
He's not here, no.
anybody, if you pardon the pun.
The chapel wasn't consecrated. The Bishop of Bath and Wells thought that it would take the parish away from the local parish church in Wraxall, which is the village at the bottom of the estate, and he's buried in the local parish church instead, along with all other members of his family as well.
So it was a justifiable worry by the local vicar then, because all his congregation would have been workers from the estate.
Yeah, it was a very real worry and very understandable as well.
Really devout family, worshipped in their chapel the whole time. Last wish was that he should be buried at home, but he can't be, as the local parish church. All rather sad, really, for such a good man.
Yeah, it is sad, but the church is only at the bottom of the estate, so he's still very close to Tyntesfield.
And in here, an old fireplace and a load of pots and pans. What a shame.
Upon his death, William's eldest son Anthony continued with his father's good works, but he didn't inherit his dad's head for business, and the family firm was passed on to a cousin. But Anthony was left Tyntesfield, and it, along with other estates, allowed him more than enough income to indulge the other passions in his life. He remodelled the billiard room in the late 19th century, and today it holds a clue to a very curious pastime of Anthony's. Like many other Victorian gentlemen, he was hooked on ornamental turning, the art of carving materials including wood and ivory. Today, the courtyard buzzes with the hum of its more rustic cousin, the old-fashioned craft of bodging. In the spirit of Anthony, I'm off to meet head bodger Dick Berry to try this 19th century craft for myself.
Hello, Dick.
Hello, Alan. Pleased to meet you.
I am intrigued by this Somerset bodgers. I mean, what is a bodger? Because to me, a bodger means somebody who doesn't do a very good job.
A bodger is someone who makes chair parts from green wood.
All right, so spokes and spindles and...
Yeah.
The term bodger historically only referred to the wood turners around the furniture-making town of High Wycombe in Buckinghamshire, who would turn soft green wood into chair spindles and legs.
It's a wonderful hive of industry here.
We'll have a go, shall we?
Right, yeah, I'm up for it. Practical man, me, you know.
The more gentlemanly art of ornamental turning became quite a fad for upper-class Victorians, but was soon dropped for tinkering with the first automated cars introduced to Britain in the 1880s.
Shall I hold it and you hit it?
Oh. If you want to take that risk. So...
As hard as you like. That's good.
Gosh.
Yeah, that's a nice piece. This is called a shave horse. Essentially, it's a vice.
Yeah.
And this is called a draw knife.
Yeah.
So essentially, this is the way we do it. Both hands on the handles.
Whoa.
Just pull it towards us.
Very sharp.
It looks dangerous.
Yeah, it does.
But in fact, it's impossible to cut yourself in half.
Watch me.
Well, if you did, you'd be the first.
Right.
There we go.
Oh, I like this. Dick, it's such primitive equipment in relative terms, but really effective,
Yeah,
isn't it?
absolutely. Yeah.
And the wood's quite green. It's quite rare.
The wood, it's quite soft. It's lovely wood to work with.
It smells divine too. OK, so when I've got this a bit round then, where do we go next?
We go on to the lathe next.
Take me to your lathe. I'm enjoying this.
Once fixed in the lathe and spun,
And then we just wind that
Wind
one.
it in.
the wood is further shaved and shaped.
We're just catching the edge.
So is this the kind of thing that Anthony would have done in the house, Anthony Gibbs?
I mean, the difference between Anthony, who was a gentleman of great wealth, and the bodgers of old, was that they had to turn out 144 of these a day.
That's a huge amount.
Four.
How many can you do a day?
About 4.
You're 140 shy.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Anthony had the money and time to become very skilled on the lathe, producing work like these intricately turned ivory candlesticks displayed back at the house.
Is that, am I holding that the right way
Yeah,
up?
that's right.
This is really tricky. It's much more difficult than you would think. I'm getting there. Why was it such a Victorian fad?
I think it was just something which sort of came in. It was the upper echelons of society that sort of got into it.
It feels wonderful.
It's fresh air.
Yeah.
It's exercise. Everything the doctor ordered, really.
And eventually you turn out what? Because I'm going to be days on this yet, Dick, doing this. So that, you can turn that out of... I recognise that. That's a gardener's dibber, isn't it? With the measuring marks on it.
We thought it was quite appropriate.
Bless your heart, it is, isn't it? Wonderful.
We hope you'll be using it in the future.
Oh, I will. Thank you very much, Dick. Brilliant.
Even though he was busy with his unusual hobby, Anthony still had the time and the money to further enhance Tyntesfield. He spared no expense on remodelling and refurbishment. And part of his money was spent on building an orangery in the gardens to celebrate a very special anniversary. TV chef Tony Singh has stepped out of his kitchen to take a closer look and cook up a storm.
The kitchen garden here at Tyntesfield is an absolute treasure, but I'm keen to check out the Orangery, a fashion-forward building curator Sue Hayward can tell me more about. You've brought me to the Orangery. Such a flamboyant building.
It was Anthony's statement piece, and it was a big statement of him as an artistic, cultured man. Whereas the house is Gothic revival, this is neoclassical or English Renaissance in style. And it was part of Anthony's celebration of Queen Victoria's Diamond Jubilee.
The 22nd of June 1897 marked 60 years since Queen Victoria's ascension to the throne. Fountains, clock towers and statues of Queen Victoria were created across the empire. The warmth, the light, is it heated?
No, not at all. All the work's been done by the sun.
It's got such a Mediterranean feel to it. It's very light, and you've got oranges there, and you've got limes there. So this would have been very exotic. It must have been a treat to come for dinner. What else would have been grown for the Gibbs family?
We've got peach houses, so they're growing stone fruits and melons.
How common it would have been for that time to have access to this amazing produce for the dinner tables.
It was only really the wealthy that were eating exotic fruit.
Status symbol as well.
Absolutely.
Orangeries, which grew citrus fruit and overwintered tender plants, became a symbol of status and wealth during the 17th and 19th centuries. However, the introduction of cheaper greenhouses in the 1840s soon saw the demise of these show-off buildings. The walled kitchen garden, however, is as productive now as it was in Anthony Gibbs' day. But is head gardener Paul Evans sticking with the Gibbs family's fertiliser of choice? So, William Gibbs made his dibs selling turds of foreign birds. And is that why you've got such lush gardens? Have you got a secret stash of guano somewhere?
Mm-hmm. No, we haven't at the moment. We use a lot of homemade compost, horse manure, cow manure, and then things like bone meal.
Paul, how would the garden have operated back in William Gibbs's day?
In the 19th century, the head gardener and the butler were two of the most important members of staff on the estate. So they'd have had a really good working relationship. They'd have been in contact daily about what their menus were, what was coming up, what was ready.
Can I rummage around to get something to cook for you guys?
Yeah, of course. We've got lots of Morello cherries. They're ready.
Morello cherries were one of Queen Victoria's favourites.
This is Marianne. Marianne's just been harvesting some cherries.
Hello, Tony, nice to meet you. They look wonderful. And I've been tasked to make something nice for you to eat. So, cherries it's going to be. Can I pick some cherries?
Yes, please come in and help.
Thank you.
You just mind yourself, we've had to protect it from birds, so you just have to crawl under.
Oh, well, I think you need a bigger net because you're going to need to protect them from me. I'll have to try. Look at that. Is there a trick I should know about?
Try and pick it so that the whole stem comes up.
Ah, OK.
Otherwise, the whole cherry is just going to kind of squash in your fingers. That's
no
it,
problem.
Lovely.
Perfect. I'm cooking my own take on Cherry's Jubilee. Hear that sizzle. A dish created especially for Queen Victoria's Diamond Jubilee celebrations. It starts with a syrup made from sugar, butter, and the juice and zest from oranges and lemons picked from the orangery itself. And to that we're going to add these amazing cherries. Amazing colour there of the cherries. The big thing about Cherry's Jubilee was the flambe, so it was done at the table, was that bit of theatre. So we're just going to add some brandy in now. And I'm going to ignite this. There you go, light it. And that will burn off the alcohol and you'll be left with a lovely brandy taste. Originally served over ice cream, I'm serving mine with a crepe. And to that, creme fraiche and lemon verbena. Tuck in. A dessert fit for a queen and everyone else. Bon appetit.
Preserving the house and its contents gives a fantastic snapshot of the posher side of Victorian Britain, but getting a flavour of life for everyday working folk in the olden days is just as fascinating. Actor Lewis Emmerich has travelled to Nottinghamshire to visit a 1920s house where the past is also very much alive.
On a suburban street in Worksop, there appears to be some normal family houses. But there is one that is not as normal as first appears.
Number 7 Blythe Grove was the home of grocer William Straw, his wife Florence, and their 2 sons, William Jr. and Walter.
Oh, sorry?
Hi, nice to meet you.
I'm Lewis.
I'm meeting the Trustory Crapper to help me unlock its secrets.
This looks amazing. Sorry, tell me about this place. All this is original?
All of it is original.
When Florence and William passed away in the 1930s, William Jr. and Walter took over the family home and preserved the house and its contents exactly as their parents left it. This means number 7 has barely changed in nearly a century.
How does everything stay so perfectly preserved?
Well, the 2 brothers were really great at helping us with that. They never married, so they lived here together. And I always think of William as a bit of a curator of his family's possessions, that he understood their worth and their value and the social history that goes with it.
So how many items are here in this house?
There's about 30,000 objects that we care for today. So many are still in drawers, they're in cupboards. Every cupboard, every drawer, every unit, under every bed is still full of family collections. Nothing has been added, nothing's been removed. It's exactly what the family left us.
Is it right that they didn't have radio, TV?
No, we have the Nottingham Evening Post in 1939, and it tells of the outbreak of the war. But William put a little note next to it that says, we never had a radio. I didn't want to have that intrusion from outside all the time with people twittering on or playing on the flute. And it's the reason he never found out about the war in the morning. He only found out from the evening papers.
So tell me, can I have a look around?
Yeah, of course you can. Do you want to head in here?
Love to.
After you.
Wow. You could just get lost in this place.
That's what I love about it, is it doesn't matter whether the object is tiny or large.
Yeah.
Everything tells a story.
Yeah.
From the heights of the dining table, which you might notice is quite low.
What was that then?
Well, the family were really short.
Oh, OK. I hadn't occurred to me until, but now you've told me. I'm on it now, yeah.
The dining room may be open to the public, but I'm getting a behind-the-scenes sneaky peek at some of Florence's belongings, kept and treasured by her sons.
One of the things we wanted to show you is this little box. Florence went to private school, and one of the things that she had to take when she went to school was some cutlery. Oh. And it's all labelled with her initials, so F.A. Winks, which was her maiden name.
Her maiden name, of course.
So Florence Ann Winks, probably late 1870s, 1880s.
Great, isn't it, given the time?
These everyday objects could so easily be lost in time. Wow. But this house has treasure stuffed all over the place.
My dad used to have one of these.
Yeah.
And Tori is giving me an exclusive peek in one of her favourite hidey holes.
So this is William's wardrobe. It's not normally on display. Inside he kept, and we still keep, all of his clothing. One of the things I love about it, the labels that tell us what he put on each shelf. It's that everyday person's collection of stuff, as we would have in our own homes today. It's not that it's particularly unique, each object, it's that as a whole, that sense of time is something that's lost now.
Yeah.
It's not, very rarely would you find a house like this. So you can't leave without seeing our kitchen, which is all the way downstairs.
Well, I have the master chef.
But it's not my culinary skills I'll be needing, as I meet house steward Danielle Lander Brown.
Hi there. Oh, before you come in, could I ask you to take your shoes off, please?
Danielle is in charge of conserving every last detail of the Straw family home.
This floor looks like it needs a bit of TLC. Tell me about it.
Well, it's one of the reasons I asked you to take your shoes off. It's early form of lino, and it's made by mixing wood fibres with oil and then laid out on a Hessian back. It's been inlaid in strips to make it look like a parquet flooring, so it would have looked expensive.
Because these were quite, fairly affluent people, weren't they, here, the Straws?
Yeah.
And that was like a statement of like some of the success, wasn't it, really?
It was. It would have been quite a new modern material for them at the time.
It does need a bringing back to life a bit, doesn't it, this?
And Danielle is going to show me how, with some lint-free cloth and natural beeswax.
Circular movement, that's it. And as you can see, you can really see the wood grain colour start to come out. The idea is that we're putting a protective layer. We're not trying to restore the lino. We're just trying to stop it deteriorating any further. So if you'd like to do the rest of the floor.
See you in about a week, then.
It looks as though I'm going to be here for a while. Hey, I thought I was just stepping back into the 1920s. I didn't realise I was staying here.
If there's one thing the Gibbs of Tyntesfield shared with the Straws of Worksop, it was their habit of throwing little or nothing away. So today, their grand house is still jam-packed with secrets that the public has never seen. The Trust's Rachel Kavanagh can tell me more.
Gosh, all wood. Oh, it's oak panelling. How beautiful. So this, presumably, is the study, then?
Yeah.
Glorious. And all the carving, all the way around it. The frieze, the little pillars there, beautifully carved.
It's lovely. We think it was used by every generation of the family, every owner of Tyntesfield, to run the estate, to do their business.
Yeah. I love the cupboards at the side. They're classic Gothic arches on the top. Beautiful.
Do you want to have a look in that one in the corner?
Inside the cupboard?
Yeah.
Yeah. Right.
You'll have to push it rather than pull it.
Push the cupboard open?
Push the cupboard open.
Ooh. Oh, hang on. This isn't a cupboard.
No.
This is their secret door.
It's a secret door.
Can I go in?
You can, yeah.
Oh, goodness. Well, it's like our attic.
It's a very big cupboard.
It's astonishing. What was it before it was a store?
This is the morning room, and it was used by the ladies of the family as their sitting room.
It is packed with stuff. There's a Van Dyck on the wall here.
There's only a copy.
Oh, that's all right. It's not like my attic then
No.
at all. Clocks and chairs and tables. Anything I can have a rummage in?
We've got this beautiful box here, which I can show you.
What's that? Oh, it's a lacquer box.
It's beautiful.
So what is it?
It's a 19th century sewing box, so it's got lots of Chinese figurines and designs around it. And then inside, if you wanted to hold one of these, Alan,
what's that?
that's an ivory thimble.
This is so intricate. Now, of course, not encouraged, but all the ancient ivory like this is so incredibly intricately worked. Oh, look, the threads on these little
Threads on there as
tiny
well.
weeny bobbins.
And if I open this for you, there's a key inside.
Yeah.
Which has...
I haven't got my specs on.
It says Countess of Grey, Lady Mary Grey.
Lady Mary Grey, Countess Grey. So that's her calling card.
I think it was a wedding gift to a member of the family.
With best love, Mabel and
Charlie
Grey. How glorious, isn't it beautiful? The thing that surprises me, Rachel, about this place is it is absolutely stuffed to the gunnels. How many objects in this collection?
We've got about 60,000 items, which is the biggest collection in the National Trust, and it's a wholly indigenous collection as well, which means that everything here belonged to Tyntesfield and belonged to the Gibbs family.
Why did they collect so much?
The house is lived in by 4 successive generations of the same family, and they just bought stuff. They furnished their house as anybody does, and it's all just been kept here. A lot of the rooms that we have that aren't open to our visitors are used in this way because we have to look after the collection that we're responsible for.
Thank you for the reminder that my wife said to me last week, we have to clear out the attic. Suddenly, it doesn't seem half such a big problem as you would have. Amazing collection.
This house gives a unique glimpse into 19th century life, if you happen to be fabulously rich, but it didn't go down well with all of its distinguished guests.
You know, Queen Mary came to Tyntesfield in 1939 in recognition of the family's charitable contributions. She said, ugly house, with some nice pictures and things, a fine view from the terrace. Clearly, Her Majesty was not a Goth.
It may not be to everyone's taste, but for me, Tyntesfield is a truly divine experience, and one that provides a fitting legacy to the remarkable William Gibbs.
It may all have been funded by fertiliser, but it was created by a man, William Gibbs, who was nurtured by his faith into building not only a Gothic masterpiece, but also a glorious family home.